Good day, good evening, good night, whatever, my dear friends. And welcome to another reading from the Mahavaipulya Buddha Avataṃsaka Sūtra, the great expansive Buddha's flower adornment sutra, the Avataṃsaka Sūtra between friends. Often called the Bodhisattva Pitaka, the Bodhisattva basket, due to the expansive nature in which this 2,400-page sutra considers the Bodhisattva way and its many aspects. It should be quite exhaustive even, in the basics at least, or like what everyone needs to know as a Bodhisattva. It should be here. It's a very nice book, I have to say. I've read maybe 500 pages now by myself. And like 2,400 pages, it's gonna take me a while, but it's really some parts are really delicious. But the thing is, in previous readings, I've read to you from chapter 10, a Bodhisattva asks for clarification. And though there was much interest in that that chapter, I noticed the rest of the chapters I hadn't considered or commented on yet were not as insightful, not as interesting, more like just praise and so on. So I moved on to chapter 14, the praise verses on the summit of Mount Sumeru. I will become more cherry-picking here, so I will basically just expand the series to cover any interesting readings from the Avataṃsaka Sūtra, but moving kind of we could say linearly, from towards the latter parts of this volume. So here I'll read to you first the introduction to chapter 14, the praise verse on the summit of Mount Sumeru. So you get some idea of how Mahayana Sutras work as a literary genre. This is a lot of the text is like this, and it's going to be interesting to hear. And then I will read to you the second group of verses from this chapter, which I found to have something more kind of interesting and insightful than the first group. The groups are again groups of 10 verses, each has 4 lines each. And they kind of cover various topics. But first, I will read, without commentary, the introduction to this chapter. Chapter 14, the praise verses on the summit of Mount Sumeru. And by the way, I'm a little bit under the weather, so don't mind the lower voice or anything. The praise verses on the summit of Mount Sumeru. At that time, due to the Buddha's spiritual powers, from worlds beyond lands as numerous as the atoms in 100 Buddha kshetras. A Buddha kshetra is a Buddha field, so either a land governed by a Buddha, like Amitabha's, was like Sukhavati, happy place, or is the sphere of a Buddha's influence. Kshetra can also mean that. From worlds beyond lands as numerous as the atoms in 100 Buddha kshetras, there came a great bodhisattva from within the worlds in each of the 10 directions. Each of them was attended by bodhisattvas as numerous as the atoms in a Buddha kshetra, all of whom came and gathered together there. Their names were Dharma Wisdom Bodhisattva, Comprehensive Wisdom Bodhisattva, Supreme Wisdom Bodhisattva, Meritorious Qualities Wisdom Bodhisattva, Vigorous Wisdom Bodhisattva, Fine Wisdom Bodhisattva, Knowing Wisdom Bodhisattva, Genuine Wisdom Bodhisattva, Unsurpassable Wisdom Bodhisattva, and Solid Wisdom Bodhisattva. The lands from which they came were Indra Flower World, Padma Flower World, Jeweled Flower World, Utpala Flower World, Vajra Flower World, Sublime Fragrance Flower World, Mind-Pleasing Flower World, Aruna Flower World, Naradhara Flower World, and Empty Space Flower World. They had all purely cultivated the Brahman conduct, the Brahmacharya, in the presence of Buddhas. The Buddhas were extraordinary Moon Buddha, endless Moon Buddha, unmoving Moon Buddha, wind Moon Buddha, water Moon Buddha, liberation Moon Buddha, unsurpassable Moon Buddha, constellation Moon Buddha, pure Moon Buddha, and completely understanding Moon Buddha. As one can see here, Mahayana texts are quite repetitive sometimes. And that's fine. After these bodhisattvas had arrived in the presence of the Buddha, they bowed down their heads in reverence at the Buddha's feet, and then each of them transformationally created a Vairochana treasury lion throne, off in the direction from which they had come, and sat down on it in the lotus posture. And just as those bodhisattvas came and gathered on the summit of Mount Sumeru in this world, so too did they do so in all other worlds as well. All the names of those bodhisattvas, the names of their worlds, and the names of their Buddhas were all identical to and no different from those in this world. Then the Bhagavat, the Buddha, the thanked one, like the blessed one, emanated from the toes of his 2 feet 100,000 kotis. A koti is an Indian number. It's usually 10 million. But it's slightly vague. It's like a huge number. The Bhagavat emanated from the toes of his 2 feet 100,000 kotis of marvelously colored light rays, which, in all worlds of the 10 directions, everywhere illuminated the summits of their Mount Sumerus, and their Buddhas together with the great congregations in the palaces of those Lord Indras. Indra is the sky and thunder god in Indic mythology. In the palaces of those Lord Indras, doing so in such a way that none of them were not completely revealed. At that time, assisted by the awesome power of the Buddha, comprehensive wisdom bodhisattva surveyed the 10 directions and then spoke these verses. So now it's the kind of the actual verses. I'll first read them through and then go over them with more detailed commentary. Suppose that for 100,000 kalpas, someone constantly gazed at the Tathagata, but did not rely on the genuine meaning in contemplating the Saviour of the world. Such a person, by seizing on appearances, simply increases his web of delusion, and ties himself up in the prison of samsara, where, blind and in the dark, he does not see the Buddha at all. Contemplate all dharmas as devoid of any inherent existence, and in accordance with their characteristic of being produced and destroyed, as mere utterances of artificial designations. Still, all dharmas are unproduced, and all dharmas are undestroyed. If one is able to comprehend them in these ways, then all Buddhas will always appear directly before him. The nature of dharmas is fundamentally empty and quiescent, and devoid of anything one can grasp or anything one can see. The emptiness of any inherent nature is just the Buddha. This is something one cannot assess through thought. If one realizes that all dharmas in their essential nature are just thus, such a person then will not be caused by the afflictions to become either defiled or attached. When the common person sees any dharmas, he is only turned by their signs. He does not comprehend that dharmas are signless, and because of this, he does not see the Buddha. The Muni has transcended the 3 periods of time, has completely perfected all the characteristic signs, abides in non-abiding, is present everywhere, and yet remains unmoving. As I contemplate all dharmas, I am able to clearly comprehend them all, so that now, in seeing the Tathagata, I am certain and free of all doubts. Dharma wisdom previously explained the true nature of the Tathagata. From him I have completely realized the inconceivability of Bodhi. So now, verse by verse, commentary. First, comprehensive wisdom bodhisattva says, suppose that for 100,000 kalpas, a kalpa is an eon, someone constantly gazed at the Tathagata, but did not rely on the genuine meaning in contemplating the Saviour of the world. Such a person, by seizing on appearances, simply increases his web of delusion, and ties himself up in the prison of samsara, where, blind and in the dark, he does not see the Buddha at all. So these 2 verses. So yeah, even if someone were to gaze at the Tathagata, the Buddha, for like 100,000 eons, but does not rely on the genuine meaning, what the Buddha actually is and what he says about himself and the Dharma. And also already in the Pali Canon, the Buddha says, one who sees the Dharma sees me. The Buddha, the Tathagata, the one thus gone, or the one gone into thusness, is not a being nor a non-being. He's empty, and he kind of describes himself as empty, like already in the Pali Canon, like a palm tree stump. No, it's a husk. It's empty. There's nothing inside, no essence. A palm tree of this kind does not have anything under the shell, kind of, in the middle of it. No essence there. Such a person who only looks at the form of the Tathagata, simply increases his web of delusion, and ties himself up in the prison of samsara, where, blind and in the dark, he does not see the Buddha at all. So this ties into something like, for example, already, like what comes to my mind is from the Chan tradition, in the Chinese Chan and Zen. The Chinese teacher Linji Yixuan, known in Japanese as Rinzai, the founder of the Rinzai or Linji school, has this very famous utterance: if you see the Buddha on the road, kill him. This very nice iconoclastic utterance. And it has the same kind of vibe. If one just worships the form of the Buddha but doesn't understand the Dharma, doesn't understand the genuine meaning in contemplating the Savior of the world, how one is supposed to contemplate the Buddha, not as a form, not as his nirmana kaya manifestation, not as his manifestation body, but as the nature of the Buddha, the dharmakaya aspect of him, the dharma body, which is his empty Buddha nature mind, which is identical in all of us. Something that, for example, Bodhidharma, the founder, basically the first patriarch of Chan and Zen, legendary figure, also the founder of Shaolin Kung Fu, the Shaolin monastery, possibly legendary, but still, Bodhidharma there's some sermons that have kind of, like from him, like attributed to him, where the basic idea is that, look no further than your own mind for the Buddha. The Buddha is there. It's always there. You are the Buddha. Everyone is the Buddha. And so on. One who just looks at the external form of the Buddha, but does not look inside, into his own mind, the essential nature of the mind stream and the empty quiescence of it, does not see the Buddha at all, because that is the essential nature of the Buddha. Moving on. Contemplate all dharmas as devoid of any inherent existence, and in accordance with their characteristic of being produced and destroyed, as mere utterances of artificial designations. So yes, and a theme that has been talked about before in previous chapters. Contemplate all dharmas, all phenomena, as devoid of any inherent existence. They have no inherent, they don't exist by themselves at all. They don't exist in any sense of existence we could actually point at, because we can't even find singular phenomena in the flow of becoming. However, he says, in accordance with their characteristic of being produced and destroyed. This might sound weird at first, because there's a lot of previous verses I have also considered in my previous videos from this sutra talk about how phenomena are ultimately neither produced or unproduced, nor not produced or destroyed, or they're kind of produced and destroyed in the same moment, the very same moment. And yeah, this might be, surprising to hear this talking about the characteristic of being produced and destroyed. This points, I think, to the very famous Buddhist Avataṃsaka mantra, the chant, that āsaya, one of the Buddha's first disciples, when someone asked him, slightly a bit after the Buddha's first sermon to them, the turning of the wheel of the Dharma, actually I think it's the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta or something. I think it was āsaya, who someone asked him about his teacher, who is your teacher and what do they teach? And āsaya answered, Om ye dhamma hetu pabhava hetunte sang, tathagato aha, chayonirodhaya vangwadi, maha samano svaha. Which is basically Om ye dhamma hetu, of all phenomena, Papa vaihe tuntee sang tätä katoa. Chayoni, yeah. So yeah, of all phenomena, the Tathagata has spoken of their production and their destruction as well. All like hail the great mystic. So there's this kind of, and that is also in Sanskrit, Omye dharma hetu prabhava hetunte sang tathagato hayava tette sang chayoni rodha vangwadi mahashramana svaha. It's the same thing there. It's a very kind of classical mantra or chant. And it speaks about, how the Buddha has spoken of the production and destruction of all phenomena. So yeah, it's kind of like a classic characteristic of them. But still, here, comprehensive wisdom bodhisattva says, in accordance with their characteristic of being produced and destroyed, see them contemplate all dharmas as mere utterances of artificial designations. So even like in accordance with this kind of production and destruction, which seems to happen and happens, moment to moment, they're produced and destroyed at the same time. In a sense, in the flow of becoming, in a sense, we could say so. Even then, in accordance with this, it is in accordance with this view to see them as mere utterances of artificial designations. So, Santu, beard, laptop, camera, light, whatever, calendar, book, Avataṃsaka Sūtra. Artificial designations, mere words, naming, just naming. All phenomena are like this. Colors, blue, whatever, whitish, black streaks, everything, whatever you'd call these colors. Artificial designations, all phenomena are just artificial designations, or artificially designated. However, he does mention, in accordance with the characteristic of being produced and destroyed. Still, he continues, next verse. Still, all dharmas are unproduced, and all dharmas are undestroyed. So, like he says, okay, classically it's said that, the Buddha has spoken of the production and destruction of all phenomena. But, still, all phenomena are unproduced and undestroyed. Actually, as he mentioned both of these, we could see that, they're actually beyond production and destruction, and non-production and non-destruction. They are neither. Again, both are even production and unproduction, destruction and undestruction. All of them are mere artificial designations. Again, just names. Just names. We could say, in accordance with emptiness, phenomena neither are produced nor not produced, and they're neither destroyed nor not destroyed. What are we even talking about? What are the reference of any of these words? What are we talking about? What's going on? Monkey noise. Bah, 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 monkey noise. Yeah, that sort of thing. Continuing on, the same verse. If one is able to comprehend them in these ways, then all Buddhas will always appear directly before him. So if one is able to comprehend the emptiness, we could say, of phenomena, all Buddhas, past, present, future, all of them will be always directly in front of you. Because you will be confronted by emptiness and the quiescence of dharmas, quiescence of phenomena, how they are primordially like space. They're empty space. They have no characteristics, they have no taste. It's sometimes said they have the same taste. They're all equal. They have no distinctions, primordially. Distinctions come from discriminating consciousness. Vijnana is sometimes called discriminating consciousness, and how it names things. That produces distinctions. Distinctions are not there as such. And then, if one sees dharmas as devoid of inherent existence in this way, neither produced nor unproduced, neither destroyed or undestroyed, one is confronted with that kind of primordial quietude of basic elementary existence, which is the nature of the Buddha's mind as well. It's the nature of your own mind, illuminated emptiness. It is empty. Everything is empty. No existence can be found. However, it appears, so no non-existence can be found either. And this is exactly how every Buddha, past, present, future, their basic essence is just the same as your mind stream. So if you see the emptiness of phenomena, and also the emptiness of self and so on, or if you see emptiness, all Buddhas will be right there, in their very essence, right there. Continuing. The nature of dharmas is fundamentally empty and quiescent. Okay, well, as I just said. And devoid of anything one can grasp or anything one can see. The emptiness of any inherent nature is just the Buddha. This is something one cannot assess through thought. The nature of dharmas is fundamentally empty and quiescent. Yeah, everything is empty and quiescent in the sense that nothing has any function, as in a previous video. Phenomena don't do anything. They cannot be seen to exist. They cannot be seen to have any characteristics. They cannot be seen to have any flavor or taste, anything to them. They're empty, and they're quiescent in this, you could say, tastelessness. They're not tasteless in the sense that they would be kind of boring, or even kind of lacking taste. It's just they have no intrinsic, inherently they have no taste. We can fabricate it, and we can kind of, distinguish them, like tastes and flavors, different characteristics, but they themselves have none. One taste. They all have the same taste of quiescence. They're devoid of anything one can grasp or anything one can see. Yeah, one cannot see anything. One cannot see phenomena. There's nothing also to grasp, ultimately. The only things one can grasp are not in phenomenal reality. They're naming. Naming sometimes, of course, combined with phenomena. Like, there's this pain somewhere or something. It's named. There's phenomena arising, and they're named in a particular way. But the name and the phenomena don't actually connect. The names have nothing to do with the phenomena. Not as such. It's artificial designation. So there's actually nothing one can grasp. There's nothing one can grasp in phenomenal reality. One can only make up something and make up grasping. Like fabricate a narrative or a drama of grasping onto something that has been fabricated. Both the grasping is fabricated and the grasped are fabricated. And the grasper is fabricated. So ultimately there's something fabricated. There's a narrative where something fabricated seems to do something fabricated to something fabricated. It's very empty. The emptiness of any inherent nature is just the Buddha. This is something one cannot assess through thought. The emptiness of any inherent nature is just the Buddha. Yeah, the same thing as I said. When one sees the emptiness of phenomena, that very emptiness is the Buddha. That's the essential nature of the Buddha, of Siddhartha Gautama. Well, Siddhartha Gautama, let's go for the Pali, that's maybe what he would have said, Siddhartha Gautama. And then, like of any other Buddha, past, present, future, it's just that empty Buddha nature, that emptiness. It is just the Buddha. There's an essential nature itself, present, directly before you. This is something one cannot assess through thought. Yeah, one has to experience it, at least to glimpse it. One can cognitively grasp it, and a part of one's mind can be awakened to it, but only experience will convince the rest of the mind of this. If one realizes that all dharmas in their essential nature are just thus, such a person then will not be caused by the afflictions to become either defiled or attached. Okay, so if one realizes that all dharmas in their essential nature are just thus, we could understand this either that all things are just thus, they're as they are. No characteristics, thus. Nothing can be said. Gestured, indicated. Finger pointing at the moon. But the finger has nothing to do with the moon, and the moon itself is just quiescent. It's thus. It's nameless, signless, wordless, quiescent. Or one could understand the word thus here to mean that all dharmas in their essential nature are as previously described, which is fundamentally empty and quiescent, devoid of anything one can grasp, anything one can see, devoid of inherent nature, devoid of inherent existence. Mere utterances of artificial designations. If one understands them thus, such a person then will not be caused by the afflictions to become either defiled or attached. So afflictions, I think this word might mean either the āsavas, the outflows, the āsayas, I think is the word for the latent tendencies, or it could mean hindrances, the nivaranani, the 5 hindrances. But in any case, or could be the three poisons, like so many things. In any case, whatever would afflict one who sees emptiness and the essential nature of all phenomena, will not be caused by the afflictions to become either defiled or attached. No one will simply not be assailed by these. Continuing on, when the common person sees any dharmas, he is only turned by their signs. He does not comprehend that dharmas are signless, and because of this, he does not see the Buddha. So yeah, when the common person, the uneducated worldling, as it's sometimes, the Pali phrase is translated, it's a bit of a haughty, phrase for sure. It's kind of like saying common rabble or something, but still, the uneducated worldling. I like that. When the common person sees any dharmas, any phenomena, he is only turned by their signs. So this means, when a common person observes the world, he responds to his conceptualizations. He responds to his ways of naming. He does not treat phenomena as they are. He does not see their empty, quiescent nature. He sees them as he is conditioned to see them and name them through culture, socialization, culturalization, and his biology. Like he's, any of these, whatever, collective unconscious, whatever, but he's conditioned to name things in a particular way. And he only is turned by these signs. Like that, only those, I think it's meant, only those turn his head, and so, he cares only about those, the conceptualizations, not phenomena as they are themselves. He does not comprehend that dharmas are signless. They have no names. They're quiescent and empty. And because of this, he does not see the Buddha. Because he does not see the emptiness of phenomena and self and views and everything. And that quiescence there, he does not perceive the essential nature of the Buddha. He does not perceive that the Buddha mind is present all the time. The Buddha is here, right now. It's almost like, Christ consciousness. The Buddha is here. The Buddha is not dead. The Buddha was never alive. The Buddha was never born, nor did he ever die. The Buddha is ever present. It's this emptiness here. Continuing on, the Muni, the sage, the Buddha, the Muni, has Shakya Muni, his word, Shakya Muni Buddha. It's like the sage of the Shakyas, a tribe. The Muni has transcended the 3 periods of time, has completely perfected all the characteristic signs, abides in non-abiding, is present everywhere, and yet remains unmoving. The Muni has transcended the 3 periods of time, past, present, future. He has seen through the emptiness of time, and has transcended the boundaries of past, present, and future. He doesn't care about time. He has seen that this kind of, the past is nowhere to be seen, and it has never been. The future is nowhere to be seen, and has never been to be seen. And the present is ever escaping. It's ever evasive. It's ephemeral. It cannot be caught. It cannot be seen. One cannot see the present. It changes too fast. But he has transcended these, has completely perfected all the characteristic signs. These do not mean the signs, as words. These mean the signs of a great man. The Buddha has, there's I think 32 major marks of a Buddha. Physical characteristics, it's a bit of a silly list, I think. For example, he has webbed toes and stuff. And he has a unibrow or something, I guess. These kind of weird, classical signs. Has perfected those. I think this means it, or it could be mean any other skills and so on of characteristics of a Buddha. He abides in non-abiding. This is interesting. He abides in non-abiding. This means that he is nowhere. He abides in kind of, in emptiness of self. He abides in emptiness. He abides in a state where nothing abides. He doesn't abide, nor does anything else. Phenomena don't abide. Nothing abides. Nothing is there in emptiness. He is present everywhere, and yet remains unmoving. In this sense, he has also the Buddha, the Muni, has transcended everything. He is here. I am the Buddha. You are the Buddha. In essential nature, the book is the Buddha. Of course, it's not the book, it's what it is, not what when I say the Buddha, I mean whatever this is. It's the Buddha. The empty quiescence is the Buddha. So the Buddha is present everywhere, and yet he remains unmoving. He doesn't change, he doesn't move. He abides in non-abiding. He has transcended everything. Right from the very beginning, this is the thing. All phenomena have been self-liberated from the beginning. as some Tibetan traditions say. There's never been anyone who suffers. The Buddha was always universal. The Buddha was always everywhere, because it's the empty quiescence that is the essential nature of the Buddha. Sometimes it's said also in this book, not so far as where I have gotten, like a bit over 100 pages after this part. Vairochana is not talked about very much yet, but I know that in the Avataṃsaka Sūtra, like there's this, like in many Mahayana texts, there's an idea of a primordial Buddha, the Adi Buddha, Adi, the primordial Buddha, who kind of was there in the beginning of all things, and he's the kind of the original Buddha mind, and we are all exactly identical with him. Everything is identical. This is almost like a cosmic mind, but it's not a personal mind. It's the Adi Buddha, the kind of the original Buddha, the original empty quiescence. In the Avataṃsaka Sūtra, I know that in latter parts, Vairochana is the word they use for this, Vairochana Buddha. But in different traditions, it could be with different writers. Longchenpa, in Dzogchen, for example, uses Samantabhadra as the name for the original Buddha mind. Whereas Samantabhadra in this also major in the Avataṃsaka Sūtra, but here Samantabhadra is just a bodhisattva. Doesn't matter, but this idea of the Adi Buddha, the primordial Buddha, that all Buddhas are just identical to the Adi Buddha, that is kind of like a very kind of you could say like a typical thing for Mahayana writings. 2 more verses. As I contemplate all dharmas, I am able to clearly comprehend them all, so that now, in seeing the Tathagata, I am certain and free of all doubts. So this is just from Comprehensive Wisdom Bodhisattva. He just kind of states, as he contemplates all dharmas and their emptiness, he's able to clearly comprehend them all, their empty quiescence, so that now, in seeing the Tathagata, as I see the Tathagata, as you see the Tathagata, the empty quiescence, he's certain and free of all doubts. There's freedom there. There's liberation there. There's bliss there. There's reverence, even a sense of sacredness, perhaps. Devotion, love, compassion. It can open so many things. So he's certain and he's free of all doubts. There's so much that's going to be gained there. Then the final verse. Dharma wisdom previously explained the true nature of the Tathagata. From him I have completely realized the inconceivability of body. This is cryptic. This just refers to, like I didn't go over the first set of verses in this chapter, which is by Dharma Wisdom Bodhisattva. So here, Comprehensive Wisdom Bodhisattva just kind of nods towards Dharma Wisdom Bodhisattva. Dharma Wisdom previously explained the true nature of the Tathagata. From him I have completely realized the inconceivability of body. So bodhi, awakening, is inconceivable. It's an achinta, I think it said. Achintya, maybe. It cannot be grasped by the mind. It's inconceivable. And in this chapter, many of these bodhisattvas in the verses, they nod to the previous one. So here, this just a nod. Dharma wisdom explained things well. From him I have completely realized the inconceivability of bodhi. So that's it for now. I managed to not cough for the entire time, and now I have to. Sorry. Yes, I hope you enjoyed it. I will continue from this. This chapter 14, I think has several nice verses, but then I will, I'll just again make it like readings from the Avataṃsaka Sūtra. I'll just, cherry pick a little bit what I find interesting. Here are the themes I think that were really interesting. The basic theme was the quiescence, the emptiness and quiescence of phenomena. All the best to you, my friend. A blessed time, a sacred time. Be well. May you be healthy, and may your loved ones be healthy and well. May they have happiness. May you have happiness as they have happiness, and as you have happiness. May all beings be happy. May they be well. May they partake of something, wholesome and blessed and joyful. Be well. Thank you. See you again.